This is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and this is the Droid Maxx. This is the high-end Droid available on Verizon for 2013 in the fall, and it's a lot like the Droid Ultra we looked at, but it has a, thankfully, non-gloss back right here. Larger battery inside, twice the storage. We're going to look at it now. The Droid Maxx. Well, if you've watched our video review of the Droid Ultra, you know pretty much everything you need to know about the Maxx, so we are not going to go over every single feature in detail because you probably already watched that video review, and you probably should. $100 more here, $299 on contract. What are you getting for that? You're getting a 3500 milliamp battery as opposed to a 2130 milliamp battery. So not twice the capacity, but significantly more, obviously. Almost twice the capacity. And you do get double the storage. You have 32 gigs of internal storage here with about 25 gigs free, which is twice that of the Droid Ultra. That's an important thing because this is a sealed unibody phone. You can't add a micro SD card. You can't expand the storage. Not going to happen here. One thing you will notice is this really nice looking Kevlar back. Well, if you're into Kevlar anyway, I am. I think it looks pretty cool. I also like the way carbon fiber looks. It's a matte finish. It feels good in the hand. It's grippy. You're not going to drop it. Amazingly, it's not much thicker than the Droid Ultra either, despite the higher capacity battery. And we've got that right here, so you can see them. And the biggest noticeable difference is actually in the leading edge, the bottom chin here. That's where the thickness difference really is. When you get to this end over here, they're just about the same, but a little bit thicker here for our Maxx. Not a huge difference. We put them on the table, put them side by side, you can see how similar they are. Just a little bit. And then if we turn like that, you can see just a little bit of a height difference there. You will notice it in your hand. If you pick them both up, the Ultra feels wildly thin. It is one of the thinnest phones on the market. Less than a third of an inch thick at its thinnest point. This guy is 0.34 inches, so just a little bit thicker than a third of an inch, but not much. Really, for that capacity battery, that's the highest capacity battery you're going to get in a phone that isn't a phablet. It's pretty impressive that they fit it in here. Both of these have a 5-inch AMOLED display, 720p, 1280 by 720, and that's 294 ppi pixel density. Anything around 300 beats what most of us can see with the naked eye. So I'm not going to complain that this is not full 1080p. It looks quite nice. I also like AMOLED displays because the colors are a little bit better than life, but not cartoonily, crazily brighter, and the whites are fairly white and neutral, so color balance is fairly nice on this. Also, really nice deep blacks on this, pretty good brightness. The one thing that you won't get is great outdoor viewability with this AMOLED display. It becomes something of a mirror. You can see it just barely. You're best to leave it on auto brightness so it will increase the brightness to maximum when you're outdoors in bright sunshine. If you're in a cloudy location or in the shade, it's not such a big deal. While we're talking about comparing, we'll just take a look at the backs, and I think this is probably one of the most significant differences. This is a very shiny back. This is supposed to be a Kevlar composite here on the Droid Ultra, but it looks like polycarbonate plastic. High gloss, available in your choice of black or red. And if you look closely, you can see a little bit of a pattern finish underneath here, but it gets very gummy, very sticky. I spent a lot of time cleaning this up just to try to get it to look nice for this video because it gets pretty nasty gummy. It's obviously not shiny, more grippy. In part, it's aesthetics. Some people actually do like shiny phones, and it's nice to have a choice of red. So there you go. In terms of internals, you're looking at the same thing. We have the 10 megapixel camera on the back with the RGB-C with the clear pixel sensor here. Somewhat maligned camera. Actually, I have seen a lot worse. I have to say it's not that bad. Color saturation is not super high. That is something that they could fix with firmware, and I hope that they do. LED flash right there. Pretty loud speaker. It's a mono speaker. It's not going to beat the HTC One with its boom sound stereo speakers, but it's pretty loud and pretty clear. As speakers go, it's above average. Nothing on the side out here. There's our micro USB port on the bottom where you would expect it. Here's our textured volume controls and our power button right there. And just like the Maxx, you pull this out. This is your SIM card slot. This volume rocker is what's hiding your SIM card. Up top, 3.5 millimeter audio jack. And if we take that SIM card holder out, you can see this is a nano SIM, the teeny tiny smaller SIM that's smaller than a micro SIM. It's the same thing that Apple uses in the iPhone 5, also used in the Moto X, Droid Ultra as well. Just goes right back in like that. Interesting design. And now for another comparison, you can see how much bigger the Droid Maxx is than the Moto X. The Moto X has the same software features and internals. The only thing it's missing is Droid Zap, which is a way to wirelessly share your photos with other Android smartphones. But 4.7 inches, Moto X, 5 inches, Droid Maxx. Now, of course, with the Moto X, depending on your carrier, you can get all sorts of customizations. On Verizon right now, it's just the woven black or the woven white, so you're looking at the woven black right now. Also a soft touch textured finish. Nice thing about the Moto X, even though I have fairly large hands, I still say that this is the perfect size for a phone, the Moto X. This is still a little bit big. It gets to be hard for one-handed operation. Trying to get my thumb to the very top, not going to happen. Again, just like the Droid Ultra and the Moto X, you've got a fairly clean implementation of Android here as far as UI goes. Basic application drawer, switch to get to widgets. You don't even press and hold on the desktop. The only way you get to your widgets is by doing it this way. You get a bunch of Amazon widgets here because this is a Verizon phone and they have a big partnership with Amazon. But other than that, you're looking at fairly standard widgets. Now, in terms of applications, you can see we have our benchmarking apps on here, and as I said, my goodness, just about everything Amazon offers is here thanks to their partnership with Verizon. We've got caller ID here from Verizon as well, and we have a whole bunch of Verizon apps. My Verizon Mobile, their NFL Mobile, all the usual Verizon stuff. VZ Navigator is here in addition to Google Maps, in case you prefer VZ Navigator to the free Google Maps. VZ Security, got our voicemail here, our visual voicemail. Verizon Tones, well, they'll try to sell you some ringtones. A lot of stuff. The Google apps are all here. The standard Google apps are on board. Google does own Motorola now, so we have a fairly nice selection of everything Google offers just about on the phone. Android 4.2.2. Not 4.3, but it will get it sooner or later. Not too much of a complaint there. Fast, clean, responsive. Now this guy runs on the same Motorola X8 processing platform as they call that. You've got a Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro running at 1.7 gigahertz with Adreno 320 graphics. The difference is this is a dual-core version of the S4 Pro instead of the usual quad-core. That said, it does just about the same as the quad-core on benchmarks. You still get the benefit of the Adreno 320 graphics on here, and honestly, not all apps really make use of all 4 cores anyway. And Motorola did that to save some power, and so they could put in 2 custom cores of their own that handle the always-on speech recognition and the motion detection. That's a hallmark of making this phone more usable than average, just like the Moto X and the Droid Ultra, for example. Shut it off for a little bit, and you can see what happens when we pick it up. You're going to have active notifications. Anything that happens will pop up on the screen. And then thereafter, say you take it out of your pocket, you pick it up from the desk, you haven't used it for a bit, it's going to show on the screen, and whatever notification is there, you can drag it and actually see a bigger preview of it. So that's really handy, and it stops you from having to turn on your phone all the time just to see if you really did need to turn on your phone to discover something. Also shows you the time, which is another thing that most people turn on their phones to find out. So let's see if we made it wait long enough and pick it up. See, there it is. Wakes up, and there's no notification, but if there was, I could drag it, and otherwise I can drag to unlock. Now, if we take a look at settings, again, you got pretty handy standard also Android access to basics like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, airplane mode, your brightness. And if we want to get to all settings, in this case, we're going to take a look at active notifications that we were just talking about. You can have it sleep at night so it doesn't bug you then. In case you have a password or a PIN, you can control how much is actually showing on screen and more privacy here. So if you don't want anybody who picks up your phone to just see these notifications, you can actually control that, which is a good thing. We also have always-on voice command, which you can disable if you don't want it, but I think most people are going to want it. The only bad thing is you're going to have to say a phrase to wake it up. It's going to record you saying it 3 times, so it doesn't get confused with you and your buddy who also has an awesome Motorola phone that has the same feature. So you're going to have to preface it with, "Okay, Google now, what's Apple's stock price?"
Apple closed up 1.6% today at $506.17.
So for those of you who are thinking it only knows about Google-centric things, clearly that is not the case. It does a pretty good job of natural language queries. You know, you can't start reading Shakespeare and have it understand you, obviously, but if you say most normal things, it will get you, it will understand you, and it will do what you ask. You can use it to launch applications, call people, all that kind of handy stuff. Pretty much everything that Google supports now for their Google Now service. Oops, see, I said Google Now again, didn't I? And for that, I just mean this right here. So your basic Google Now service is right there. Anything you can do with the voice command there, you can do, plus some extras. That is an awesome humanistic feature. I like that a lot. I also like the active notifications too. Things that make it easier to use your phone without wasting time, without pressing buttons, without killing power. It's pretty darn cool. Again, I wish I didn't have to say that silly phrase first, but I understand that you do need to have some phrase to tell it to wake up. Otherwise, it's going to be waking up at every little thing it hears. Since you've got the same internals here as you have on the Droid Ultra and also on the Moto X, no surprise, it scores about the same on benchmarks. On Quadrant, it scored 9,014, not quite as good as the HTC One and the Samsung Galaxy S4, but honestly, today's phones are faster than we know what to do with. We don't really need all that processing power. Even if you play Real Racing 3 all day long and shoot up things in Shadowgun, really, we're talking overkill here. On Tutu, 21,786. Very good number. You see 24,000 or so on the HTC One and the Galaxy S4, so we're pretty darn close there. For the 3D Mark Ice Storm test, it scored 11,534, and the demo test was 64 frames per second, so good performance. Our phone has the usual stuff that you would expect: Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN, not AC like the Moto X, Bluetooth 4.0, GPS, NFC, front high-quality 2.1 megapixel camera as well, good for your video chatting, and it does indeed do a nice job. So, all in all, for those of you who like the Droid branding, I start to feel that the whole angry robot thing is getting a little bit old, maybe, with the screechy startup sound and the red and black motif, but some people out there maybe you still like it, and that's what the Droid Maxx is here for. For those of you who like that, and particularly for those of you, again, who need the extra battery power that's in here. Also the storage, but I think a lot more people are excited by the battery. Now, Motorola has started to do a weird thing. They're quoting battery life in terms of just overall usage pattern throughout a day, which is one way to look at how a phone works. So with the Droid Ultra, they say 24 hours. They don't mean 24 hours with the phone always being on and you always using it. They don't mean screen on time. They just mean about 24 hours before you're going to have to charge it again. With this, they claim 48, which is interesting because the battery capacity is not doubled. In terms of screen on time, what does it mean? It's pretty good. It's not as good as I would have expected, given how awesome the Moto X is at conserving battery power. The Droid Ultra and even the Droid Maxx are not quite as power frugal. So this guy, I find I charge it about every 2 days of actual use. So there you go. There's Motorola's claim of 48 hours of actual use time. That translates into about 15 hours of screen on time, which is good but not stunning. Certainly it beats the Droid Ultra by, it was about 9 hours for that one. So we're not talking twice as much, but we're talking a significant improvement. Now the Moto X does a little bit better than the Droid Ultra here, but still this guy will last the longest of all three. Short of going up to a phablet, which has a huge battery, like say the Samsung Galaxy Note 2 or the Galaxy Note 3, where you're also consuming more power because you've got a quad-core CPU and a bigger screen to draw onto, this would be one of the better choices. The only drawback, of course, is obviously you can't take the battery out. It is sealed inside. So if you do need to extend your run times, you're going to have to get one of those externally micro USB battery packs that plugs in here if you're on the road and you can't get to an AC outlet. Motorola phones tend to have good reception and pretty good data throughput, and we're going to run a test right here in front of your eyes. We do not have Wi-Fi turned on. And I can tell you that download speed actually exceeds our Fios speed, so that's pretty impressive. Now, obviously Verizon's doing a little capping of the uploads to improve their download speeds, which is fine for most people. And you can see the array of results that we've gotten here. Now, the low numbers when we went to a place that had pretty weak LTE coverage. We only had about 1 bar, well over 100 dB in signal strength, so we don't expect as good speeds there. Where we had pretty good speed, but you can see we're still not full on the bars. It's not super duper. We're getting some very nice speeds from the phone. Call quality, on the other hand, has been just okay, not superb. I come to expect a lot more from Motorola. They make some excellent voice phones. I have to say the voice sounds a little bit digitized, especially if there's any background noise where I am. The DSP really kicks in and it kind of results in, no pun intended, a little bit robotic voice. It's not horrible. People can understand you. It just doesn't sound as natural, full, and clear as the best voice phones on Verizon. Among those would be, again, the Samsung Galaxy S4, the HTC One. Even the Moto X does a better job, surprisingly. Like I said, though, it's not a terrible voice phone. Obviously, very simple, easy to use dialer. Again, not much of a UI customization going on here, which is fine with me. I like it when they keep the best of what Android does and only enhance the things that really need a little help. You can see you can get to your recents very easily and your favorites here. Obviously you can use this with Bluetooth car kits, all that kind of thing, wired headphones, should that be the thing that you like. The phone comes with Chrome, which is Google's first choice for a modern web browser. They're phasing out the WebKit web browser. Some manufacturers still choose to keep it around so that they can customize it to suit themselves. And you can see what the keyboard looks like. It's a little hard to see, but you can press and hold to get the numbers there. We'll visit our own website. And again, we're using Verizon's LTE network to do this. Speeds are quite good. Rendering is fine. This is Chrome. It always works nicely enough. No Adobe Flash support in Chrome, so sorry about that, but you can always install Firefox or a Boat web browser and sideload Adobe Flash if you want. And we've got video up here of our Droid Ultra so we can see how that plays. Should be just fine. And of course you can use the YouTube player to do this too if it's a YouTube hosted video, but anything HTML5 this can play just fine.
Track a lot of the Moto X inside of here, to be honest.
I wish it works fine.
The features are pretty much the same as the Moto X, just a different.
We'll full screen it. Nice colors, good contrast, sharp display, good quality, and that's what the volume set at below 50%. It was pretty loud and clear, so nice job there. So now we're going to check out the new Shadow Gun Dead Zone to see how it games. And I'm pretty new at this, so I'm sure I will just get wiped out quickly. But nice graphics, nice colors. Okay, let's find somebody to shoot. Or he'll shoot me first. Definitely looking good. So that's Shadow Gun Dead Zone on the Droid Maxx. So that's the Droid Maxx. It's available now, $299 on contract, and obviously if you want more battery power, if you want more storage, given the non-expandable storage here, this would be your choice between the Ultra and the Maxx, but it is going to set you back $100 more. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Be sure to watch our review of the Droid Ultra also, and the Moto X, and read our written review of the Droid Maxx, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.